guys, and welcome back to another video. So if you're wondering why the heck am I doing the ASMR intro for today's video, well, I'll let you guys know in a little bit. But for now, let's go ahead and start off with what we are going to be drawing today. So in the past, I've asked you guys for like character suggestions, and a lot of you guys have sent me requests or like put down comments of wanting me to draw characters from this specific series, and you can probably tell from the title and or the thumbnail, we are going to be drawing characters from Bungo Stray Dogs, as it's one of the most requested, I think, other than the typical like Hoyo-verse characters. So we are going to be doing that today. This is going to be more like a sketch page type of video, so I'm not going to be putting like what I would consider like full 100% effort like I do for finished illustrations. These ones are going to be a little bit more off of vibes, how I guess like my energy is, as well as just how I want to draw the characters in a certain way, and just like having fun, because I'm just going to be mostly sketching and coloring these and rendering to like a certain degree. So with that being said, there are two characters, which one of them you would have saw at the very beginning of today's video, and the second character is the one that I'm drawing currently. I have technically drawn two of the Bungo Stray Dog characters in the past, and both of them were for the 6-character fan art challenge. So I have drawn Ranpo Edogawa, so he is the one that I'm currently drawing right now, and the other character, which you would have saw at the very beginning of today's video, is of Osamu Dazai, and I've drawn him for I think the most recent 6 fan art challenge, but I will be drawing him next right after Ranpo. And to kind of keep the video on not too long of a video duration, I guess, I will be trying my best to keep every kind of drawing section about 5 minutes each. So I do apologize if your favorite character does kind of like zip on by in terms of the footage. So let's talk about the intro of today's video, because I don't know if you guys have seen kind of like my mini crash out on Instagram stories. So basically, today's video session or like video plan was supposed to be a more longer version, so I could spend a little bit more time with each of the characters in terms of the footage, and it was supposed to be an ASMR based video. But I had a little bit of an issue. So while I was kind of like troubleshooting why my mic was not having a great time, it was always having some sort of background noise no matter what I did for ASMR videos more recently. And I thought it was because of my mic was just struggling, because maybe it's getting old, or maybe I dropped it or something happened to it, because the gain is definitely very off. But I tweaked around some of the settings in, I forget what this is called, like Logitech G Hub or whatever. So that's like the only thing I ended up changing. And I used like previous settings for, I think, the byebye video you guys would have saw for Wednesday's video, where I was using the acrylic gel pen markers to make an illustration, and that one was recorded with the same setup. So I didn't tweak the volume or anything after that. So I did not touch anything in OBS, yet for some reason my desktop audio was like toggled on, and in my OBS I have like only one audio channel visible and working. So for me, I thought everything was running as normal because I could see where my sound was peaking, and basically I thought everything was normal. And I usually do like a test or like a pre-record just to make sure the sound is functioning as normal, because sometimes my audio does switch from my mic to, let's say, my webcam. So I do have to double check every so often. But the thing I couldn't check or couldn't really tell is the fact that while I was recording the test versions, I always have like no audio playing, just to make sure that I'm listening purely to the sound that's being recorded. And because of that, I didn't have any desktop music or video playing during that time. So by the time I started working, I almost always 100% have something in the background, whether it's music or like a long form video, a live stream or something. And I did not know that OBS was recording my desktop audio alongside with my mic, and because of that, the ASMR audio is unusable for today, so you're gonna have to deal with my voiceover for now. So I do apologize. Next week I'll do an ASMR iPad video of some sort for sure, like 100%, because it's been a while and I kind of miss doing them. ASMR videos, they're both like stressful and calming at the same time for me. One is because like I do prefer drawing in silence, or like not having to worry about talking during that portion. I can kind of focus mostly on the drawing portion and just have something in the background, so it makes it a little bit more enjoyable for myself. The stressful part comes mostly just like for me having to stay quiet. I usually have to take pauses or, try to avoid anything that requires too much attention in terms of like audio. So let's say if like a plane passes by, I have to make sure to cut that out. If someone decides to call me or if someone comes home or anything like that, I have to cut those out or take a break. So I do try to plan around external sounds and all that stuff. So, it kind of flip-flops in between what I prefer to work on in terms of like these types of videos. And usually for longer form videos, I don't want to do a voiceover all the time. I don't know if it's because I feel the need to continue to yap during the entire session. And I know I don't have to, but it seems like I always do. And I know you guys don't mind when I yap, but yeah, I think that's kind of just the whole premise of what happened in terms of the audio. I have now fixed it. Something was toggled on, so it was a little bit strange on how that happened because like I said, I did not touch any settings in OBS, so my desktop audio should not have been on. I checked every different scene that I had, nothing had it on, and I thought maybe it was like from a different recording session, but like I said, I recorded this almost like right after the byebye video. I did take like a 2-day break, but like I didn't touch any settings otherwise. So there shouldn't have been a difference because that one performed normally. So it's still a little bit of a mystery for me. But now I'm paranoid and I'm going to keep double checking every time. Just, I guess for you guys, it's a little bit behind the scenes stuff. But let's go ahead and talk back to our drawing because this one, I definitely struggled. So we did zip on by finishing Ranpo. I decided to draw him a little bit different, didn't include his glasses, and I have his eyes fully closed. So I didn't want to draw something too similar to what I have drawn of him previously from the 6 fan art challenge. And speaking of, I guess like drawing the same character, like I mentioned earlier, Osamu is another character that I ended up drawing prior to doing this kind of sheet. Now, I think in the past I've talked about the idea of whenever I'm drawing like a new character, this is mostly like in my sketchbook that I do this exercise. I don't really do it digitally for some reason. Maybe it's because I have more freedom and the ability to always tweak and kind of like reset or restart or undo and redo. So it's a little bit more flexible for me to continually to fiddle with it. But if I'm starting off with like a character that I'm not used to, which hence all of these characters, I probably should have said this at the very beginning. I have not watched the series, so I'm going in blind in terms of general characteristics of each of the characters alongside with like personalities and stuff. Of course, because the series I feel like is fairly popular, I have seen the characters like floating around every so often, so I'm aware of the series and the style, but I'm not aware of what the character is like personality wise. I never really look deeply into like their designs and stuff, so if there's some aspects of their design either not shown properly or missing, I eventually do tweak some things, but some things are just going to be inevitably missed because I don't know the characters super well. And with that being said, the thing I like to do in my sketchbook is I like to do almost like a very basic front-facing sketch of the character, just very simply, because I just want to spend as much time looking at the character and sketching it out in my sketchbook, just to kind of get a feel of the character, so that whenever I want to do either extra doodles or if I want to do more drawings or fill up the whole entire spread, one, I can always reference the sketch that I just did, and hopefully that one is a little bit more accurate because I spend a lot more time on that one, and the fact that I'm not going in entirely fresh, so I have an idea of like maybe how their clothes work, how their hair is, if they have accessories or things that I need to include. I can kind of be a little bit more mindful of that. But the way how I approach these drawings, and I do apologize if any of these guys are your favorite characters and I probably butchered them terribly, especially Osamu. So I think in the 6 fan art challenge, I struggled with him as well, but I hate this one so much. I just don't like how I drew his face. So throughout the entire video, you're gonna see me continually fixing his face, even after a few characters. So like after I finish kind of rendering him to a certain degree, I will move on to the next character, come back to him, tweak him, move on to the next character, come back and tweak him, up until I think the last character on this page. So he's gonna look a little bit different and hopefully not as funky looking. I don't know how to describe it. Part of it is because I think part of it is the art style. and translating it into my style, and then obviously things that I tend to default to. So initially when I drew him, I automatically gave him like much larger eyes. I also didn't keep in mind the how do I explain this? The depth of the face. I feel like the eyes should have been further apart. Besides like making them smaller too, because I feel like Osamu has a little bit more sharper eyes and less like doughy kind of larger eyes, which I tend to default because I do like drawing cuter characters typically. So it's definitely on me not being as conscious about trying to keep the character in character per se. There's like other things I definitely wanted to tweak, and the biggest tweak is probably the distance between the eyes and just widening out the face a bit more, and then completely getting rid of the nose and the mouth once more. So I think I'll do that again, as well as liquefying the heck out of his face from time to time as we work on the other characters. So I think I'll do like a mini reveal of each character once we get to the coloring portion. I don't think I did a lot of these characters justice because of one of the things, like I said, is the fact that I'm kind of going in drawing these guys blind. And I know that's not an excuse to be like, that's not really, I guess, like a crutch to be like, oh, this is why you can't draw the character. I think part of it is because I had a hard time just translating the art style into my style because there are some differences. There is one character that I think I did a better job at least translating the character's face into a way that I could draw it but still like keep core elements of my style, if that makes sense, because the eyes do play a big part on changing the character's appearance in general. So I do think that's like one big thing that throws me off very, very much whenever I was drawing any of these characters. So I highly recommend, if you're also struggling drawing like a character digitally or traditionally, whichever, just do more iterations of the character. I'm sure like eventually you'll find like that sweet spot between how you want to draw them versus like how you see them, I guess, if that makes sense, or how it is in the reference material, how you view them, and then how you draw them. I feel like it's like a 3-step type of thing. Maybe it's just me. I definitely think that sometimes when I work digitally, I do commit to like certain things too early, and maybe it's because of that crutch of knowing that I can change it eventually. Like I said, when I work traditionally, oftentimes I feel like maybe not as much right now because I'm a little bit more free with my sketching, but especially in the early days when I drew Genshin characters and Honkai Star Rail characters, I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that I understood like their outfit completely. I think there was like a time where I drew Kaya and then Albedo and Goro from Genshin Impact, and I always do like the front facing kind of almost T-pose to get their outfit and everything, and then do a little bit more of like pose studies with them, and then hopefully having a better understanding of their entire aesthetic. And I would benefit from that, especially here. I do agree that if you have like a character hyperfixation and you drew only that character for the rest of your life, you'll see gradual improvement for sure. So, you know, drawing a character that you're not super familiar with, don't beat yourself up. Just, you know, just draw the character more and more and more if that's like something you're wanting to do. I definitely think it definitely helps you have a greater understanding of the character and just like how you want to tweak and maybe see how you want to fix, I guess like the discrepancy, if you do have that discrepancy between like, oh, the character doesn't look like the reference material or like the original, I guess, but you still want to keep your style intact, if that makes sense. But also, I guess part of me doesn't want to be too attached always to like, you know, keep things in your style. I definitely think it's a crutch, but there are things that you're going to gravitate towards. And like I said in like previous videos, whenever I'm doing like fan art of series, one thing is that I love doing fan art of series that I am like well acquainted with. And I think that part is partly because I have an easier time drawing characters that like I know, as well as like trying to be able to capture their personality or like putting them into situations that I know they would be. There's nothing wrong with drawing things like out of character or anything, but I do like doing more like genuine fan art of things that I enjoy. But these ones are fun because like it's more of like a challenge, or like I treat it more like a challenge, as well as it's kind of like Just fun to draw characters that you guys like as well. I know a lot of you guys enjoy just watching me draw your favorite characters potentially, or just wanting to see different characters in my style, so I totally understand that as well. Oops, I forgot to talk about the character. So this one is Kyoka Izumi, and I feel like she's the only girl that was mostly suggested in the comments. She has like a very fun color palette. I don't know if it's because I'm more in that Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year. Hopefully you guys are having a good Lunar Chinese New Year's, because I know it's like, is it 2 weeks almost? The duration of it technically, because it's like an entire spring festival. I'm not too sure, but if you're still celebrating it, then happy Lunar New Year, happy Chinese New Year, whichever you celebrate. I'm just like really liking the red and the yellow recently, so I really did like her outfit. I do like her little accessories, I guess, for her hair too, and I wasn't too sure on her personality. I don't know if she's more like tsundere, maybe she's a little bit prickly as a character, because I wasn't too sure how to draw her expression, and I didn't want to default into like the happy, cheerful type, if that makes sense. But then, yeah, that's the third character we ended up drawing. I do apologize that I kind of just breezed through it. I don't have like too much to say about the character itself, just because, like I said, I'm not too familiar with the character. I do like her design in general, but we are going to move on to the fourth character that I ended up drawing. Okay, so this character is somebody I have seen in the series just like floating around, and mostly because I've seen the comparison of this guy to a character in Ensemble Stars, and I think it's purely, maybe it's the vibe, a little bit of the hair, as well as just, I think it's the hat. I'm pretty sure it's like 100% the hat, but I think it's Mom? M-A-M? So it's, let me see if I can remember his name. So it's the guy who's like a soloist in Ensemble Stars. It's like Marara Nakajima, I think. So he kind of has like similar, not exactly, maybe vibe-wise, but it's definitely the hat. Maybe just like slightly the general aesthetic. Like I said, I don't know the character's personality per se, so I probably drew a lot of these characters out of character in terms of maybe how they would act or anything. I tried my best to make his pose a little bit more interesting, because I did like the general vibe that I got from this character, and maybe the kind of like charismatic-ish personality is only me bleeding in the thoughts of Marara from Ensemble Stars. Not too sure. But this character, his hair was a little bit confusing. I definitely had a lot of fun just like playing around with the stylization of his hair, and just like in general. I did like a lot of the color palettes for the characters that you guys suggested me to draw for Bungo Stray Dogs. A lot of them kind of, it's not like a lot of bright colors. Like other than Kyoka and I guess like this guy's hair color, I think a lot of the characters tend to lean more towards like black and brown. Maybe, okay, maybe I should have prefaced this too. I know nothing in terms about the premise of the story. I don't know if it's more like film noir-y, kind of detective, kind of esque type of show. It just kind of gave that vibe whenever I see the aesthetic of it. So I know their names are probably like references to actual people. I never really dove into it, and maybe in the future if I do sketch pages for other series that I'm not familiar with, I'll do more of like a deep dive into the character. Because I remember there was, I think it was Demon Slayer that I ended up wanting to do fan art, but I didn't feel comfortable drawing the characters without finishing the series, so I like binge read the manga. But because I read it so fast, did the fan art, the entire plot from, I don't remember what arc it is, up until like the very last arc of Demon Slayer, it's like all a blur in my brain. Because my friend was telling me about like, oh, this is like what's happening in the new movie, I believe, or I don't know if it's a movie or if it was a season, but for me, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I don't remember this part at all. So, you know, I would like to take more care in terms of like drawing the fan art of the things that I am interested in. Bungo Stray Dogs does intrigue me. I know a lot of people recommend it, so it is on my list if I ever want to have something to watch. Maybe it's something I will pick up, but hopefully I didn't do this guy too injustice. So I forget this guy's name. I think it's Chuuya. I don't know his full name. I should have written it down, but thank you for suggesting me to draw him. I do wish, out of like all these characters, he's probably my number one in terms of I want to redraw potentially, because I do enjoy his aesthetic mostly. And I feel like I didn't really do him justice. There's one more character that I feel like just suffered from the fact that I drew him last, so I do apologize about that. But we are going to be moving on to our 5th character for today, and actually, I'll probably mention at the very end of today's video and in the description or like in a pinned comment or something. But we're moving on to our 5th character. So right off the bat, this one is a little bit more... I spent a little bit more time just kind of trying to get the eyes to look a little bit similar, because I feel like the vibe of the character relied heavily on kind of his blank expression to a certain extent. So I wanted to keep the eyes very similar to how they're drawn, and their eyes are very like angular, which I found very interesting. I definitely think that's like one of the reasons why Osamu, as well as a little bit of Kyoka probably, their eyes look very off to me. Maybe Chuuya as well, because I didn't really follow too much of the same shape, as well as I tend to make the eyes a little bit bigger, so maybe that's why they don't read the same general vibe or personality that might come off of them if you saw their actual like original reference. Also, I forgot to talk about this during Chuuya's. For his hair, I actually don't know which one was the original. I think I chose the reference that had more of like the orangey hair, if it's very bright, because it was similar in style to the references that I was looking at for Ranpo and Osamu, but I wasn't too sure because there is another set of references, or at least what I think is like the main image for him, that had more of like a almost a light brown. It's very much more of like neutrally colored compared to the bright orange. So do let me know if that's like if there was like a difference in that for some reason. Maybe one's like specifically for the anime and the other one's just like colored from the manga. Maybe that's the case, not too sure. But let's talk about this character. This one, oof, I'm gonna have a struggle in terms of trying to say his name. Akutagawa Ryunosuke. So this character, very interesting. I like his general aesthetic. By the way, I think the person who just like suggested me to draw this character said that maybe I would like this character because he has more of like a formal attire, I think. Oh, and here's like a part where I decided to really liquefy Osamu's face a heck of a lot. I definitely think it helped quite a bit. I tried to shrink down his eyes. I changed his like mouth to be more of like a smirk-ish. Try to widen out the face a little bit and try to fix the nose, and I think it looks a lot better to what I had in the very beginning. It's still iffy to me, but a lot better than what I initially had it, so at least I'm a little bit happier. But for this character, very interesting. I don't draw a lot of like the micro bangs a lot, so at some point I ended up liquefying his forehead because I made it a little bit too high up, and I decided to bring it down a lot more. I think it's also because when I initially started sketching out his entire head, I shifted his face downwards to the bottom of the base of what I had planned out for the head, and then left the entire scalp area to be too large, and it became too high. So I definitely had to end up squishing everything down a little bit, and I think his coloring came out very fast because of it's mostly like neutral colors, very black and white, so it became a lot easier. I also like how I did his eyes, and it's not even like the way that I drew it, it's more of like how the colors are interacting. I just like the pale kind of peach color and then kind of the gray color peeping through from our darker outlines. I just think it looks kind of nice. But yeah, had a lot of fun drawing this character actually. He probably looks the most alike the original reference, but it's mostly because I was following it a little bit more closely. Now, I think a few minutes earlier, I talked about one character suffering from the fact that they were the last character that I drew. So unfortunately for the 6th character, I don't think I did this character justice at all. I do apologize. I do like this character's design quite a bit, and I feel like he's a little bit... I could be very, very wrong because I see mixed images. Unhinged, maybe? I don't know if that's like how I would describe him per se. A little bit off his rocker, that type, a little crazy, maybe. So I kind of gave him a little bit more of like he's cackling a little bit, hand covering his mouth while he's laughing. But this character's aesthetic I felt like was very different compared to the rest, especially because his color palette's very bright. Like I mentioned for the other characters, they kind of lean more neutral. A lot of them were a little bit more darker in terms of like, it's kind of like a dark, neutral, chestnutty brown color, as well as like a lot of black. There's like a peeping of white every so often. But this guy is like completely on the lighter end in terms of his color palette. He does have some black in his outfit as well, but for the most part, his entire color palette's pretty light, which was nice for a change. But I don't know if my brain just didn't want to switch gears when working on this one. One, did not spend a lot of time working on him. Two, I don't know. Maybe it's just the pose and the initial way that I drew him, or the fact that I was feeling a little bit claustrophobic with the amount of space that I had to draw him. I would have loved to draw him more like... There's like that Naxa pose from Honkai Star Rail where he's kind of like... I'm gonna say T-posing, I guess, almost, where you're like looking up at the sky and you're kind of laughing and spinning in a circle low-key with your arms out. I would have loved to draw him more like that, but I decided to keep it a little bit more contained because we did run out of space. I ended up drawing Ranpo and Osamu a little bit too large, but at that point I could have shrunk them down to give myself more space, because after I ended up drawing Kyoka, I definitely did not have enough space, but she cuts off in a weird way on the right hand side, so I couldn't really shrink her down as much. I ended up lowering her compared to when I initially drew her so that we could have enough room for her 6th character. But still, in the end, I don't think we had enough room to do anything too dramatic with the pose that I wanted, so we just ended up drawing something like this. And like I said, I didn't spend too much in terms of rendering per se. I did just a bit of cleanup and then darkening of lines, which I think is still fun to do for colored sketch pages, at least for me. I feel like sometimes when I do sketch pages and they're supposed to be sketches, I end up doing too much like of a full render and I get burnt out super easily. So unfortunately, this one did end up getting into kind of like that burnt out area of the day in terms of the drawing. So I do apologize if this is your favorite character. I was just having a hard time for some reason grasping how I wanted to draw him and then looking at the references. So I don't think it looks like him at all. I do apologize about that. Maybe in the future. I think this is like, yes, I mentioned earlier that there was 2 characters that I wanted to draw or potentially redraw. So one is Chuuya, and then the other one is this character, because aesthetically and just like visually, I do like this character quite a bit. I just don't think I did him justice, and I feel like I did him more like very, very poorly. I don't think it really looks like him, so once again, I apologize about that. Also very confused on how to include his braid, so I kind of just stuck it next to the side of him, just kind of like peeping through. But as always, for all of these sketch pages, ended up doing a white outline around each of the doodles. In this case, I ended up putting text right in the middle. If I had planned this out a little bit earlier and had more space, I usually place it in whatever blank area that I had, but I pretty much filled the canvas up completely, so there wasn't really a good way for me to put text on its own, so ended up slapping it in between Osamu and Akutagawa? Oh, I forgot. The last character I ended up drawing was Nikolai. So yeah, apologies about that. But yeah, ended up putting a grid in the very back as kind of our last step for my sketch pages. And I think that's it. One, was not prepared to do a voiceover, so I'm apologizing right now, which is a little bit too late, for the fact that this is going to be all over the place. I also wish I did a better job on sketching these characters. Maybe in the future, if you guys want me to draw more from this series, do let me know. Maybe I'll do like 6 fan art challenge, but it's like only Bungo Stray Dog characters, and I can actually do more of like a full rendered version, portrait, whatever you want to call it, for those ones instead of these weird sketches where are kind of like all over the place in terms of finish. But I think that is it for today. Thanks for hanging out, guys, and I will talk to you guys next time in the next video, which hopefully will be an ASMR for the main video, I guess. Bye!